5 overpaid NBA players of the 2016-2017 season. My name is Josh, your Envyerz, and spoiler alert, like usual, none of the players on the thumbnail are on this list. We're talking about players that just don't match their price tag for the stats they put up. So the first player on this list is one of the first people to get signed in this offseason, and that is Timothy Mozgov. This man put up 6.3 points per game last season and 4.4 rebounds. I mean, if you just look at the stats and look at the amount of minutes played, he was coming off the bench behind the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cleveland Cavaliers did not use him properly last season, but hey, he was still able to win a championship, and he went to the Lakers as a champion with a juicy contract. Compared to other players' contracts, the CBA allowed bench and role players to get some amazing contracts over current players who are better than them, have a better starting role, and contribute more to their team. And Mozgov, he fits that category, but he also fits another category where he's a 7-foot giant, and if you could walk and chew bubblegum and you're 7 feet tall in the NBA, you're getting paid. Unfortunately for Mozgov, he doesn't really average 10 points per game or 10 rebounds per game. He's not a double-double machine, and he hasn't really averaged a career year of double-digit anything. So to pay this man $16 million a year for 4 years is kind of ridiculous, with $64 million of that contract guaranteed. That's absolutely crazy. Marcin Gortat, Tyson Chandler, Kenneth Faried, they're all getting paid less than Timothy Mozgov, and they do essentially what he does, and a little bit better as well, if healthy. So in the words of Jalen Rose, Timothy Mozgov, keep getting them checks. Next up, another center that could walk and chew bubblegum, Joakim Noah, who was a feature on our last episode. He's back again this episode, and he's one of the most overpaid centers in the league for the product that he puts out. Last season, Joakim Noah put up 4.3 points per game, 8.8 rebounds, 3.8 assists. That's a pretty good stat line compared to Timothy Mozgov, but mind you, he was out for a good majority of the season last year. He was out with injury, didn't play that many games, didn't play that many minutes. And the Knicks decided to pay this man a hefty contract for him to be in New York for 4 years. They signed him to a 4-year deal. He's getting paid $17 million a year, and $72 million is guaranteed out of that 4-year contract, which is it's crazy to me. That's even worse than Timothy Mozgov's contract. I wish he's worth the money, but unfortunately, as of right now, he's not putting out the product that is deserving of that contract. I don't know why the NBA loves to overpay big men, the center positions. I don't understand that, especially older center positions such as Joakim Noah, who's 30 and up, Timothy Mozgov, who's near 30 and up. So if you could find yourself a young center, keep that man, sign him to a cheap deal, and don't be the Knicks or the Lakers and have to sign any of these dudes. I said this before in my last video. Robin Lopez put up better numbers than Joakim Noah, has a better contract than Joakim Noah, but the Knicks decided to trade him away for Derrick Rose. That's kind of sucky, considering Robin Lopez is having a pretty good year thus far with the Chicago Bulls compared to Noah, who isn't really healthy and isn't really doing anything. But age is not an excuse for Joakim Noah, considering Pau Gasol is putting up better numbers than him with the San Antonio Spurs on a lesser deal as well, along with Marcin Gortat once again, and an up-and-coming center in Jonas Valanciunas. The Raptors did good. They signed a young up-and-coming center on a pretty cheap deal, a reasonable deal rather. So keep getting them checks, Joakim. Next overpaid NBA player is another familiar face from last episode, and that is Chandler Parsons. Chandler Parsons averaged 13.7 points per game last season, 4.7 rebounds, 2.8 assists in a good 30-plus minutes with the Dallas Mavericks. His history isn't that good. You know, he always gets hurt when the team needs him the most, especially with the Mavericks. He's been hurt twice back-to-back in the playoffs, and he just wasn't there for them when the Mavericks needed him. And now, early in the season, Chandler Parsons is missing a good majority of games. He's out for like 2 weeks, and then he's out for another 2 weeks with the Memphis Grizzlies. So I just hope he could get on track and be healthy and be the man that the Grizzlies paid him to be, because all the people that are on this list, they do not have a worse contract than Chandler Parsons. Chandler Parsons is getting paid $22 million a year, 4 years, $22 million, $94 million guaranteed. That is by far the most money for a player that isn't producing for a team that I've seen on this list. Like I've done some research, and Chandler Parsons, just because of health issues and just the amount of effort he puts out on the basketball court, it doesn't translate to the amount the Grizzlies paid him. I was really contemplating putting Harrison Barnes in Chandler Parsons' place. I had a poll on Twitter. Apparently you guys thought Harrison Barnes was by far the better player than Chandler Parsons, and I have to agree with you. Harrison Barnes is a whole lot younger, a few years younger than Chandler Parsons, and doesn't have an injury history like Chandler Parsons. So Chandler Parsons, by far the worst contract on this list. Keep getting them checks, Chandler. On to the next small forward that is overpaid, and that man is Solomon Hill. The Pelicans, I have no idea what they're doing. They love to sign a bunch of weird players to go around Anthony Davis. They need to stop doing whatever they're doing and actually sign talent around Anthony Davis before he gets traded, he wants to leave, or he gives up and signs somewhere else once his 5-year hefty contract is up. So at least Anthony Davis is getting paid, and hopefully Anthony Davis can stay healthy. But this isn't about Anthony Davis. He got a nice contract. He puts up good numbers though. Solomon Hill, on the other hand, not so much. Last year, Solomon Hill's numbers are absolutely disgusting. I mean, I'm looking at him, right? Oh my goodness, I gotta control myself when looking at these ugly stats. But he put up 4.2 points per game, 2.8 rebounds. That's really about it. He didn't get that many opportunities last season with the Indiana Pacers. He literally had less than 15 minutes per game. He didn't play a full 82 game season and only started 3 games last year. So I don't know why the Pelicans signed him off of that season. Maybe they signed him off of his 2014-2015 season when Paul George was out for the entire season pretty much, and Solomon Hill had an opportunity to start almost every single game, got 30 minutes per game, and put up 8.9 points per game. And even then, that's not that pretty impressive. But I feel like the Pelicans are banking on him solely for the fact that he could possibly be a 3-and-D guy. I don't know. Does he play good defense? I don't really watch Pelicans games. And also because he's very young. He's 25 years old. Maybe they have a time to develop him and help him become a star next to Anthony Davis. I really doubt that's possible. But hey, maybe he could be a future starter because he's not really doing a good job now. He's getting paid $12 million per year for 4 years with $48 million guaranteed. Now, luckily for him, I put him after Chandler Parsons. So when I look at his ugly contract and his ugly stat line and compare to Chandler Parsons, I say, wow, Solomon Hill, that's a great signing. Because if I I can't, dude. These dudes are getting paid too much. I can't. We only have one more player, and that last player is someone that's out of the league, but he's still getting paid today, and that is Josh Smith. I bet you didn't know he's out of the league, nor did you probably care, but Josh Smith is still getting paid. His contract doesn't end until 2020. From now, the 2016 season up until the 2020 season, this man is getting $5 million plus per year off of his Detroit Pistons contract. The Pistons signed him to a relatively cheap contract. Looking back at it now, considering all these other players that I've mentioned thus far, they signed him to a 4-year, $54 million deal. The Pistons waived him back in 2014, and he signed with the Houston Rockets right after. He did pretty good. I mean, he went to the playoffs with them, went to the Western Conference Finals, and he was a big factor to the push. But then, the Houston Rockets decide not to re-sign him, and he goes with the Los Angeles Clippers. It doesn't really work out with him with the Clippers. Actually, I do believe he's traded, waived, whatever. This man's just getting bounced around the league, and he ends up with the Houston Rockets, and then they don't re-sign him. Nobody offers him an NBA contract, and he's over there playing in China right now, dropping 40-plus points, 16-plus rebounds per game, averaging triple-doubles in games that they lose. So, if anyone wants to pick him up, I mean, he's putting up decent numbers. He's showing that he still has that athleticism at 30-plus years old. Maybe a playoff contending team like the Golden State Warriors can pick him up. I really doubt they will, though, considering why need another shooter. I mean, Josh Smith thinks he's a shooter. I mean, just look at his terrible shot chart. Everywhere on the shot chart, this man shoots almost underneath 50%, except for in the corners and in the paint at the rim. That's just unacceptable, man. Whatever was working in Atlanta wasn't working with the Pistons, and it never really worked anywhere else once he got waived. Statistically, his first year with Detroit was pretty good, but if we take a look at the last year's stats, combined total, he put up 6 points per game, averaged 3.5 rebounds, and under 2 assists. I mean, if we compare his stats with Solomon Hill, that's a pretty accurate representation here, considering they both have around the same minutes, they both have around the same stat line, and maybe it's just not showing up in the box score, the things that he's doing, but I highly doubt that Josh Smith is an amazing 3-and-D type guy. I mean, he likes shooting threes, that doesn't mean he's good at it. That's kind of mind-blowing that Solomon Hill and Josh Smith are the same exact player, except for Solomon Hill, he's making essentially Josh Smith's old contract, while Josh Smith is getting $5 million per year up until 2020. doing nothing in the NBA. He might return. Who knows? He's still not young. He's still, not a good three-point shooter. Hey, a veteran team will most likely give him a shot. Keep getting them checks in China now, Josh Smith. With that said, those are 5 players that stood out to me that are overpaid in 2016-2017's NBA season. Let me know in the comment section below your 5 players that you feel are overpaid in this year's season. Leave a like if you did enjoy it. It really helps the channel grow, along with checking out some of my other videos. And if you truly appreciate the work I do, feel free to support me on Patreon so I can continue to make these artistic, stylized NBA videos for you. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.